I was born in post-Soviet Russia. If you went to work yesterday, you made a salary. Tomorrow you wake up and it is worth zero. All of that money, all of that work, all of those savings were gone. Didn't matter if you were a lawyer or a dishwasher, everybody woke up poor. I woke up the next day and as if overnight, I grew up. I was no longer an 11-year-old. I was an adult in a child's body. I became incredibly angry and resentful. I was adopted and brought into the United States 2008. You kind of start learning all the foundation of the financial system and all of the fear from the childhood, seeing my grandparents' Fiat lying around. I'm like, oh my God. Money is the soil of economy, but if you have rotten soil, nothing will grow. You have fiat government money that is rooted in energy, vibration, frequency of destruction, theft, death. Wars are financed by it. Bitcoin is that for me as an adult, and I think for many people, is it gives you this immense, huge, amazing hope that cannot be compared to anything else.
Hello and welcome to another wonderful, great episode of You're the Voice. I am here with Anna. Hello, my dear.
Hi.
So good to have you. So great to have you in your hometown. I'm the visitor, but now you're my visitor. This is so cool. I had wanted to do this for a while. We talked about a year ago about doing this, and now it's happening, so I'm stoked that it's finally happened. We met 2.5 years ago or so. I think first time was in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Two and a bit, yeah. And we connected straight away. And we kept in touch. And every time I saw you, I was like, who is this angel? Who is this beautiful woman, beautiful human being, soul, whatever that, I love your energy. I love meeting you every time. Our conversations always go so deep, so quickly.
Low service level.
And if we didn't have to stop here now to countdown and then hit record, we would just talk because we have this chemistry between us. And when I was here in Miami a year and a bit ago, and you and Muzz hosted me at your place, first of all, I was blown away by the generosity to host me, so thank you. And secondly, you told me some personal stuff about your life and your background, and it was so moving. And I asked you whether you'd be willing to do this with me here in camera. So I know that this may be a little bit, exposed or sensitive for you. So I really acknowledge you and appreciate you for doing this, because I do believe that your story can inspire many people. And I think that your voice can make a lot of difference. So thank you for doing this, first of all. And secondly, you are not the first one to feel daunted by doing a podcast or an interview. Isabella was doing her first one on my show too. Oh, and Carla as well.
What an honor. Yes.
So you're with Isabella and Carla. The same. So you're just ask them. They had a blast, and I'm with you. So this is for us to give a gift to people, So yeah, let's start with your background. By the way, Anna goes by Nasty Huddle, right? You can find her.
It's my formerly Twitter account, Nasty Huddle.
Nasty Huddle. That's where you can find her on X if you want to keep in touch. So let's start with where you were born, where you came from. How did your story start?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me. What an honor to follow the footsteps of Isabella, Carla, some of the most incredible women in the space, but also you had Natalie.
Of course, I have many women. Michelle, I have many.
Monica. Oh. It's just really incredible. What you do is so important, and the fact that you're able to recognize voices in not only just in the Bitcoin space, but I think globally, right, is incredibly powerful. And I'm so grateful to be here and to do this with you.
My pleasure.
My background is a bit unique. I was born in post-Soviet Russia, early 1990s. Well, 1991. Literally, that was the year of what's called perestroika, which is when the Soviet Union fell apart. And practically overnight, what happened is the government was reset and the monetary system was reset. So not a lot of people talk about it, but if you went to work yesterday and you made a salary, tomorrow you wake up and it is worth zero, nothing. Essentially.
Wow.
And back in the day, like people didn't have bank accounts. They would store cash, fiat, old school under the mattress.
There were no banks?
There were banks, but like
it wasn't
common. Only available for the rich. Like
Okay.
the majority of people didn't have bank accounts.
Okay.
And there was no, robust system of debit cards, credit cards. This is like early beginnings of the system resetting, but then like normal people started having bank accounts, like plebs or middle class, lower class Russians. I want to say in the like late 90s to early 2000s, and even then it was like, oh, that's cool, I have a bank account.
Wow.
So a lot of people just lived off of cash, and you get paid once a month, your full salary in cash. And what do? You plan ahead, and you if you're able to, you save cash under the mattress. So all of that money, all of that work, all of those savings were gone practically.
So it was worth zero?
Zero.
On that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So think about it. When the Soviet Union collapsed, there's no more Soviet Union. The fiat that they had was USSR branded money,
So it's no longer relevant?
Correct. It's no longer relevant. No more USSR, no more USSR money, So it didn't matter if you were a lawyer or a dishwasher. Everybody woke up poor. Well, luckily I was very young. I didn't realize the severity of what was happening. I was literally just born, essentially. But the poverty level in Russia was so high is that there's a crazy statistic. More children ended up in orphanages, government funded facilities, post-perestroika than after World War II, when fathers didn't come home from war.
Wow.
So
parents couldn't afford raising their kids?
They couldn't afford feeding their children, and putting kids in orphanages was a way to make sure your child is fed and is given clothes. So actually a lot of families were putting their children temporarily in orphanages to at least feed them. And of course, to add to it, because the level of poverty and uncertainty was so high, many people turned to alcohol to numb. And Russia is known for loving their vodka. But vodka hits different when you're just poor and you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, right? So
yeah.
Long story short, I was one of those kids that was placed in an orphanage temporarily, so I would at least be fed. And I also have an older sister. So what happened was my parents at a time, young, in their, mid-20s, mid to late 20s, they turned to alcohol.
Both of them?
Both of them. My mom was more of, she really liked to drink, and it was kind of in the family, alcoholism was a thing. But when there's just so much uncertainty, when you don't know what tomorrow is going to be, like Russia was a dark place. So
wow.
If you already are predisposed to addiction, like a great way to, speed it up and make it worse is uncertainty and poverty, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, this is heavy.
Yeah, right. I know. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Ever find yourself needing cash but refusing to sell your Bitcoin? That's real life for many Bitcoiners, because most Bitcoin sales aren't financial decisions, they're liquidity decisions. And that's exactly what Ledn solves. Ledn is the global leader in Bitcoin-backed lending. They've issued over $10 billion in loans since 2018 with a perfect track record for protecting client assets. Here's what makes Ledn different. With their custodied loans, your Bitcoin collateral is not lent out to generate interest. No credit checks, no monthly payments, and no penalties for early repayments. You apply in minutes and you repay whenever you want. Ledn also publishes proof of reserves reports every 6 months with full transparency. So if your capital is in Bitcoin, but your expenses are not, you still have options. Ledn lets you unlock liquidity without selling your Bitcoin. Learn more at ledn.io/Efrat. That's ledn.io/Efrat. You're the Voice is brought to you by Trezor, the original Bitcoin hardware wallet company pioneering the development of self-custody for crypto assets since 2013, empowering individuals with an open-source device, enabling beginners and experts to easily and securely hold their coins. I find my Trezor super easy to use and recommend it to my friends and family. Enjoy my 5% discount on Trezor products by clicking the link in the show notes and using the code EFRAT.
I've seen a photo of you on Instagram as a child. So beautiful, so sweet, so cute. And you started telling that story of how you basically never exposed that child to the world. And only now, these years, you're starting to talk about that upbringing again and everything that happened. So I know it must be hard.
This is definitely a first public interview sharing my childhood story, but I have done a little bit of the social acknowledgement to my past because over the years I've learned to honor the challenges that I've lived through, and they've shaped me so well, and they've allowed me to understand the world in such a different way. So as much as the story is difficult, I have immense amount of gratitude of everything, how it conspired. But back to the 90s. So my parents were drinking quite a bit. I was 4 years old. My sister was 6. And my grandparents at a time, just so poor. They're like, you know what? All these, everyone is putting their kids in orphanages. Like, maybe we should do that too. And the goal, actually, the way that my grandparents were thinking, how they looked at it, they were like, okay, well, it's twofold. The kids will be fed, and the parents might stop drinking and figure out their life. And this way, it was kind of like to motivate them to get their life together, but also to make sure we're fed. It was a temporary thing that the grandparents wanted to do. And so, at 4 years old and my sister 6, we ended up in an orphanage. And this is like, it was called Orphanage Number 5 in Novokuznetsk, in the middle of nowhere in Siberia. But funny enough, it was actually an orphanage like in the middle of a thriving city. Well, it wasn't thriving at a time, but it was a city that was built actually during World War II to produce all the tanks and steel rails and also weapons too. So it was a very industrial city. And so the orphanage was actually right in the center, like the not a main street, but close to the main street. So, looking back, I used to we would walk around the city, and it was like, oh, you're an orphan, but like you get to get out and you get to explore and you get to see the world. So it was slightly different from what I feel like people would imagine an orphanage would be, like where you're just kind of stuck in one place and don't get to see the world. My situation was a little bit better than, other kids.
So you've experienced some level of freedom and...
Yes. So I went to a regular public school. And so the way that it was, we lived in an orphanage. There was like about 120 kids, and all the children were divided by age groups, right? So even though I had a sister, I actually didn't spend a lot of time with her because she was with the kids her age. And so once you turn 7, you go to a local public school. But in school, everybody knows you're an orphan, so you're bullied quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
And you're always in Russia, there was this system in school, let's say first grade, and it was A, B, and C. And A is like gifted kids. B, and also parents that are paying a little bit more towards the school. Is eventually I figured it out. B is like average, and C is either, not very smart, challenged children, or orphans.
Orphanage.
Yeah. So
how many orphans will be in a normal school?
well, let's say
Like it was a common thing that
Yeah.
you had.
in that, if let's say the orphanage is within the facility of that school, it was a kind of like a partnership with that public school.
Got it.
They would accept the orphan kids. Yeah. I forgot all about this, but so what happened was I would spend my year in an orphanage, but then anytime there was what is it? Not a vacation, gosh.
Holiday?
When the school is off, when it's break, right? Summer
Yeah.
break, holiday break. Yeah. My grandparents would actually take us back, my sister and I, and we would spend time with the grandparents.
Right.
So it was a little bit of like a boarding school set. I don't really know how boarding schools work, but my understanding is you drop off a kid for the remaining of like the semester, and then the kid comes home essentially. So in a way, it was kind of like it, which honestly, I was a lucky kid because some children did not have parents or grandparents that
To
would
go
take
back
them
to,
in.
yeah.
Yeah. So I got to see a little bit of both worlds, right? Through the lens of an orphan and a lens of like, oh, I live with my grandparents. In fact, in school, I used to be so ashamed of being an orphan because you were kind of looked down, as if you chose to be an orphan. I used to lie that I lived with my grandparents. If I wanted to kind of hang out with the regular kids, I'd be like, oh, I live with my grandparents. Yeah. So, but
Were you in touch with your parents throughout that time?
yes and no. So my father at first was visiting quite often, almost in the very early days, almost every day after work, he'd stop in and
Wow.
and hang, and he'd like everything he made. He really tried to make things better. My mom kind of turned a bit more into drinking. Now she had less responsibilities, right? So the kids, they're taken care of. So
Right.
that was like actually an outlet for her, where the grandparents thought it was like an opportunity to wake her up. It was like, nah.
It's the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but over time, it for my father became kind of like it's the kids or the wife. He kind of had to take care of her and had to figure things out himself. So, but yeah, they visited for my birthday, and I would see them occasionally when the grandparents would take us in. They would come by, but I didn't have like a very like a strong relationship with my parents. But what I wanted to share is, because I spent so much time with my grandparents, their house, because their youth, majority of their life was lived in the Soviet Union, right? So their house, my grandma would have all this Soviet Fiat laying around, paper money, and I would pay like everywhere I look. I swear, I really do hope she still has it, because I wish I grabbed some and just kind of show it, and as a memorabilia. But I would occasionally, just pick it up. I'm like, Grandma, what is this? I'm just a little girl running around, and Grandma would look at me, and she would have this like sadness in her face, and she'd say, oh, well, I used to be able to buy bread with this.
Wow.
Like this is money that I worked for, but it's no longer worth it.
Wow.
And that was that set this question in my, because, you're young, you don't understand, why is Grandma so sad?
Yeah.
Talking about this paper money I guess, you just don't get it just yet at that age. But what you do get is the deep sadness and nostalgia. And there's this like, it's almost like kids can they can read energy. I feel like when you're so like you're pure, you're not yet, corrupted by this big, challenging, difficult world. And I remember I felt this. I felt this, like, not just sadness, but what I felt, when grandma would say I used to be able to, and she used to always say, uh, and she'd say, I used to buy bread, and I used to be able to afford a new dress every time. Back in the Soviets, I guess she was able to afford a new dress on her salary every time she got paid. But after the monetary system was reset and the prices were all out of whack, and the Russian Federation, and they tried to implement this, their version of democracy and free market, and that really, when it came to pricing things, clothes was out of reach. Like, it was just so expensive.
Wow.
Post-Soviet, that in your regular salary, you can't just go and buy yourself a new dress. So I can't even imagine, living all your life in a certain world where certain things are available to you, and then practically overnight your life just, shifted upside down.
While the
Money.
government or the state still has the power to print that money and provide for themselves or for orphanage or for schools or for any public system. That's a very great way of controlling people, where you take everything away from them and then they become completely dependent on you.
Yes. Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. Yeah, go on.
It's something that kind of started this. It set a fear in my heart that what if history was to repeat itself?
Right.
What if we were to wake up again and the money system reset and new money again, And as I got older, I would kind of question it more. And it's something that's like, when you're just so young, you don't get it, but there's this like nut in your stomach, like, what if, And, fast forward, when I moved to the States and I learned about the monetary system and I went to finance school, all my fear from my childhood just reignited back. I'm like, it is so very much possible for a system to be reset when it is the way that it's set up, right? The centralized.
Then you received the explanation to what actually happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and if I'm taking you back to when you're still a child in the orphanage, at what point did you leave?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, for how long were you there?
Yeah, I was there from age 4 to 16.
And were you happy?
What meant to be a short-term kind of thing that the grandparents set out to do, because I had an older sister at the time. After about a year, they saw, the parents weren't doing any better with the drinking, but they decided, maybe it's time to take the grandchildren back. But my sister refused. She actually made the decision that it's better to stay in the orphanage than to go back and live with our grandparents. And as a younger one, I didn't have a say, so we kind of ended up staying in an orphanage for majority of our childhood. Was I happy? That's a very good question.
How did you feel living there?
I want to say, and that's the beauty of growing up, is between, I think, 4 to 9, 10. It is what it is. You kind of just, kids are like, oh, life.
Yeah.
I do remember feeling this like intense loneliness. I remember myself standing by the window a lot and just looking out. And I think what, now that I kind of think about why I did that, is like waiting. I think I was waiting, like mom and dad are going to come back. We're going to, it was, even though it wasn't like so pronounced that I wanted, to be back with the family, I think, but me just literally, I spent so many hours standing by the window looking out, waiting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And after the age of 9?
It's when the puberty kicks in a little bit, you start to really question a lot more, and the hormones are going crazy. And something happened actually. So, between you just kind of growing up and questioning a little bit more, my father passed away when I was 11. So I guess 4 to 11, it was like, I'm okay. I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't happy. I was just being a kid, But so I don't know. Do I really want to go into the depth of this?
Up to you, my friend. Up to you. You feel free to say whatever you feel.
So my father, after all these years, finally, because my grandparents had this theory that if only dad left mom is the troublemaker.
Mm-hmm.
If the father leaves the mother and just continues to work at it, he'll be able to eventually take the kids and we live happily ever after. So between me and my sister, our father was the shining light. Dad is going to figure it out. Dad is going to leave mom. We just kind of hear these conversations amongst the family. And so finally, Dad decides to leave mom and he gets a very good job. Back in the day, if a job had you travel, outside the city for business, that's like, oh, that's a really good job. The company is sending you on a work trip. And so my sister and I knew he was on the work trip. And we were like, okay, that's it. When dad comes back from this work trip, he's going to come back and get us. Is this like amazing hope in our hearts? Like it's going to happen. And he comes back from this work trip. My understanding, he gets paid, which again, cash money in an envelope. And the very next day after, he was found dead.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the whole world comes crashing. That's literally when your entire life is built up to this moment, like dad is going to get us. Dad is going to save us. Father, he's going to do this thing. And yeah, I remember when I found out that happened, that was evening. I woke up the next day and as if overnight, I grew up. I was no longer an 11-year-old. I was an adult in a child's body. There was this sense of like someone just taking my
innocence,
taking my whatever the pink glasses, kind of you look through this eyes of a child. Like I just didn't have that anymore. I suddenly saw the world for what it was. And it was a scary place.
Wow.
I was able to, I knew when adults were lying to each other, when they were deceiving one another. I saw it. And as a kid, you don't know how to handle it. So I just would scream, she's lying, she's lying.
Wow.
And they would look at me like, who is this crazy child? So because I didn't know how to take that, I became incredibly angry and resentful. Mm-hmm. I became I thought adults were like the worst thing on earth because they were so like, always, never honest, always with some sort of underlying agenda. So, and on top of it, growing up, we weren't really pushed the religion very much, but I think children naturally are very spiritual and very connected. And I naturally would pray like as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, no one taught me like, hey, this is what you do and this is the prayer you say. You just feel that there's something beyond the physical, and you're naturally like my sister and I would like just pray.
Yeah.
Dear God, help our parents figure it out.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, but once my dad passed away, I became incredibly angry at God.
Right.
Like, whoever you are, you took the only hope I had in this world.
Right.
F you. This sucks. I became incredibly suicidal. I would contemplate a lot, actually committing a suicide and jumping off like a higher floor. But I just never, like, I was smart enough to realize that I never lived in like a high enough building. Like I just wouldn't do anything. I would just hurt myself because it was like either second floor or third floor. Really, I don't even think I've ever been like on the above like fifth floor, you know? So, yeah, I became incredibly angry, resentful, and just it's something that you know, looking back, it obviously was a way for me to protect myself. I didn't know how, and so the only way is to like rebel, resent, and that kind of went on for a few years. I also, before this whole thing happened, I was like a straight A student, always like overachiever, going above and beyond, and once I was like, screw this sucks. I was like, just didn't do any work at school. Like really, all the teachers were like, Anastasia, but you're so talented. And I'm like, I don't care.
You sabotaged that.
Yeah. There's kind of like nothing to look forward to. Like there's one world in which there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of opportunity. And then there's like, well, this is what it is, and it's me, myself, and I. Like no one is coming to save me. Dad is not here, and so this, So a few years of that until something happened. Actually, a little bit of a miracle. We're going in many directions here, and hopefully, I hope to bring
this is
back
great.
to Bitcoin.
This is great,
and how deeply I connect with the idea since we met through the Bitcoin space. So I developed this growth on my body that the doctors at the time, so around 12, 13, I think. And the doctors at the time said, look, we can operate it, but what happens usually is it kind of a cyst thing. So it may grow back or may grow around. And I remember the thing just kept kind of getting worse and worse, and it was kind of hard to move my arm. And I used to go to this nurse in an orphanage that would put a medicine on it to try and kind of, maybe extract whatever the growth was. And so I had a conversation with my nurse in an orphanage, and she just looks at me one day and she says, Anastasia, you do realize this growth is stuck anger and resentment. And when I heard her say that, it's like she spoke my language. I knew exactly that she was right, because the last 2 years I've been so angry and I've been so upset with the world. No wonder I developed a growth. So, and then she also added something else to it. She said, and by the way, it's not a coincidence you're in an orphanage. Something must have happened maybe in the past life. And I'm like, what? Past lives? I was like, wait, past lives? What? No, I've never heard anyone talk about it, but I've contemplated that in my own head.
That resonated with you.
It resonated with me so much. So she actually ended up giving me a book by Louise Hay, an American author, translated in Russian. The book is called Heal Your Body. And I started reading the book, and this woman, she was specializing in kind of connecting physical ailments to emotional and mental energy imbalance. And she herself essentially healed herself from cancer without needing chemo or anything, by just doing the work that required forgiveness, letting go, and looking in the mirror and telling yourself you're worthy. You're worthy of all the good in the world. So I did that. I read the book
at 13. Yeah. You're 13 years old, and you have that level of understanding. It's amazing. You started doing that every day?
I want to introduce you to Abundant Minds because they take a very different approach to Bitcoin mining. Most people buy Bitcoin, but the smart ones mine it straight into self-custody. With Abundant Minds, you can do it without giving up your privacy. Abundant Minds was founded by Bo and Christine Marie Turner, a couple who lost more than $500,000 to providers making empty promises. Instead of walking away, they built a company that raises the industry standard and puts client first, and that's why I like them.
With Abundant Minds, you own your machines. They never touch your Bitcoin, never skim a revenue share, and you choose your own mining pool. Their customer care is unusual. Clients speak to a real person for self-custody education, privacy consulting, and even visiting their site. They serve clients from around the world, but US investors specifically enjoy a big tax benefit and 100% bonus depreciation. This is more than just mining Bitcoin. It's about freedom, privacy, and purpose. You can book a free strategy call, see how it works, and mine some of your first Bitcoin for free with a special offer for my audience. Learn more on abundantminds.com/Efrat. In a world hypnotized and sleepwalking towards totalitarian control and digital enforcement, awakened voices rise to inspire change and radiate hope. In December 2024, I had the honor of hosting Professor Matthias Desmet at a conference I produced called New Totalitarian Order. This masterclass is now recorded and available to watch. The conference explores the psychology behind global mass processes, offering a behind-the-scenes look at science, economics, and human potential. It addresses challenging global agendas, mass formation, transhumanism, consciousness, societal change, and the path to transformation. Click the link in the show notes to access 3.5 hours of exclusive presentations, in-depth content, and my fireside chat with Professor Desmet. Use my code EFRAT for 10% off. I hope you find great value in it.
So she had this exercise, which, by the way, I strongly recommend the book. I have it on my phone to this day.
Really?
Now the English version. And anytime
I'll put a link to it. Yeah.
Anytime I have some sort of weird ailment, usually I'll look up the cause because she literally outlines not every disease possible, but a lot of common things. And she will, she outlines the name of the ailment, what possibly how it is connected to your mental state.
Yep.
And she also has this little mantra that you can repeat to help and move that. I remember I started reading the book and I immediately started doing her exercise, and forgiveness was a big one. So I had to be like, okay, Mom, Dad, I forgive you. It's not your fault.
Wow.
It's not your fault. We're in an orphanage. Yeah. Well, and because the only way she was able to heal herself from cancer is because she had to do the unimaginable, is to forgive her stepfather who raped her.
Oh my God.
Which is how she developed cervical cancer. Because for all of her life, she had this incredible pain and resentment and anger towards him.
Right.
So I was like, wow. Well, first of all, thank God. Like, my situation is way better here.
Right. You had a point of reference.
My point of reference is like, I guess I'm not doing so bad. Yeah, I'm in an orphanage, but let's face it, But I started doing this. She said, you have to write it. And even if you don't feel like it, you have to fake it till you make it. Just write it. Push yourself, force yourself, write it. So I'm like, Mom, Dad, I forgive you. God, I forgive you for taking my dad from me. And sure enough, exactly day 7. And by the way, this thing that my growth, they were so close to operating it because it started to get really painful. Day 7 of me writing this, Mom, Dad, I forgive you. I remember just literally as I put the pen down, the thing just burst.
Wow.
It burst. And I remember actually feeling like when you feel something with your heart that you're doing something, it was an emotional release. I no longer hold this resentment towards you.
This thing, this phenomena, I'm sorry that I'm stopping you for a second, that's something that I have witnessed, experienced, but also have seen other friends of mine go through in recent years, like in the last decade, where they were handling and facing courageously a lot of their, demons or traumas or, past stories, and with myself as well. And when we got to the point of, okay, we're getting over this, it's time to let go of this and move to the next level, then you have stuff like that happening of literal poison or toxicity built in the body that is being released. I had that. Like, I don't want to say where, but somewhere in my body, I had that. So in 2021, and I went to the doctor because I didn't know how to do it myself, and they had to like pierce it, and stuff came out, and it was, what the hell? It never happened to me before. And another good friend of mine had a similar thing happened as well. It's as if the body is, it's insane, huh? Our body, that vessel is speaking to us, is holding the energies and the frequencies that we hold and live with for so many years. And when we're ready to let go, the body lets go too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's magical. This body of ours is like, it's a miraculous machine, but also you have to know how to listen to it, how to work with it. And we store everything in our body, every emotional pain that we lived through since literally the day we were born is stored somewhere in our body. And a lot of people don't know why they have the back hurts or this hurts, chances are it's not just because they're sitting in the wrong chair.
Oh, yeah.
But also the chair might be the issue, but it's probably something having to do with emotions, limited belief systems. And also a lot of it has to do with, just pain and resentment and not understanding why life deals you a certain thing. And the way that you deal with it is actually by just storing this intense energy in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back. So this happens. This is the growth is being released. And
I mean, that was the beginning, of kind of my rebirth in the way, because by witnessing that miracle and the relief, not only it was so profound. I'm 13, right? I'm a child. And here I'm learning that by just thinking and feeling, you can heal yourself.
wow.
And the doctors was supposed to like do this big operation. They were telling me how this is all, a serious thing and it may come back. It just bursts and the release. And so long story short, that reignited my belief in God and my belief in, okay, there's something beyond this that I don't understand, but I can no longer be angry because I don't want another one of these. I can't go around this world and be this angry kid as I was for 2 years. Like I don't want to feel that pain ever again. But also part of the work that I, kind of forgot to mention in the book, alongside of writing the forgiveness letter to whoever's hurt you, if the ailment is connected to that, she talks a lot about mirror work, where you literally have to look yourself in the mirror and you have to tell yourself, you're worthy of all the goodness in the world, and I love you.
Yeah.
And for me,
it's hard for so many people.
Oh my God. It's so hard. I remember I had a girlfriend in college and she was having all kinds of life issues. And I was like, Michaela, we're going to the mirror and you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and you're going to say, I love you. She couldn't do it. It broke my heart. It's so hard. Like, I didn't realize. I mean, as a kid, you're kind of like, I was willing to try anything.
Yeah.
But especially as we get older, the more we carry those like feelings, that's why, that emotional pain and ends up calcifying in cancer.
Yeah.
Because with time and continuously giving it energy.
Yeah.
That's how, unfortunately, people get really, really sick. So anyways, I've witnessed a miracle, and that reignited my interest in, okay, what else is there I don't know? I was just so hungry for knowledge. I was like, I need to know more. This is amazing. But also because I was giving myself love and I was doing the mirror work, it turns out when you are nice to yourself, you're nice to others. I was just like so nice to others. Suddenly they didn't bother me. It didn't bother me that the adults lie. I'm like, let them be.
You could still see it, but it didn't trigger you.
It didn't trigger me because it's almost like if you're in the frequency of just like joy and love and you're just like, I think it took me a while probably to actually kind of come down from this cloud of the miracle that I witnessed, you know. Like, it's like it was actual physical pain. Like I couldn't even move my arm for a while. I still have this scar. I think, you know, it was like God's way to be like, hey, remember
this, of course. Yep.
Yeah. So fast forward, what happened, because I've lightened up and I, you know, stopped being an emo child, suicidal, crazy kid, I got back to, you know, doing really well in school, showing up, doing a ton of extracurriculum activities. Oh my gosh, I did it all. I danced, I sang, I played guitar, I ran track. I mean, I don't even know how I did half the stuff that I did. And fast forward, I was 14. Well, actually, so at some point in this whole story of before my dad passing, I'm trying to remember if it was like what year it was. My mother got pregnant miraculously somehow again while I think I was 8. I was 8 when she gave birth, but we never saw the baby. My mother gets pregnant. She gives birth to a brother of mine. His name is Sergey. And almost not instantly, but she leaves because she was at that point, when I say miraculously, at that point, her level of disease, like alcoholism, like she has completely given up on even trying. Like,
wow.
She's, I don't even know how her body was able to hold a baby.
Right.
Like the level of intoxication that she was in on a regular basis.
Right.
So, but she gives birth to this baby boy, and shortly after, you know, I think he was maybe 1.5, or the timeline is starting to really feel blurry, but he was adopted by an American family. And we knew, my sister and I knew, okay, we have a brother and we were told that he was adopted. I may have seen him once, but this was so long ago. I think I saw him once, literally once before, like as an infant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So never heard about it again, never been spoken about until I'm 14 years old. You know, and now I'm like this happy kid who, you know, is just willing and able to do all the wonderful things in the world. I was just I was so happy. Like the way you saw me, you know, oh, who is this girl? Like I think something happened in that moment of healing and letting go of anger and resentment. It gave me this lightness to like be playful again, to enjoy life. However difficult or challenging it was, I was able to find, I was actually actively looking for positive, you know, things to focus on. It really works. Turns out if you focus on the positive, you get more positive things come your way. So out of nowhere, this gentleman from St. Petersburg, he was a journalist. He traveled to our small little city in Siberia, to the orphanage, and he basically somehow got in touch with our brother's family, and they were looking to reconnect with the boy's sisters. And the parents at the time posted on this like a forum, like where a lot of American parents were kind of sharing their experience with adoption. And so, yeah, my brother's family, they reached out on this forum and said, hey, we know our son has older sisters. We do not know how to get in touch with them. And somehow this journalist was able to see the message, and it's like, you know what, I'll help you find them. And so, yeah, he traveled, found the orphanage, and connected with us and did a little like a video story about us to send to the family. And he left an email address to the family to connect with. And so I remember this was like early days of the internet in Russia. So, but as an orphan, turns out Not very few places, schools even had the internet. It's like you have to go to like a special place. The local library had internet connection, and you pay
Yeah.
certain amount. But as an orphan, you
You
get
had
to
it.
use the internet for free, which was great. So I remember going to this local library and creating my little email address and starting emailing with my brother's family. And back then the Google translator was terrible. You could barely understand things,
Right.
but you kind of get the gist of the
Because you weren't speaking English
I
at the
no,
time.
no, I
Okay.
didn't speak any English at all. And so I started emailing back and forth with my brother's mom, and I fell in love with this woman. I
Mm-hmm.
remember thinking to myself, who is this person to show me goodness in the world? Because
Wow.
Russia was at the time, it always felt like this gray, gloom, sad place. Like all the people are like very closed off and they have a big wall. And I now understand, I guess, as an adult, I'm like, well, yeah, if I woke up one day and all of my life savings were gone,
It makes you
I
very,
yeah, you don't trust the government, you don't trust your neighbor, like things
makes you rough.
makes you very
Yeah.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
But communicating with someone who has this, and remember, I had this like lightness and joy in my heart.
Yeah.
And so to be able to communicate with someone with that same level of joy and love and hope, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Right.
Never in the million years have I thought, because I was like 14, 15, like this is around that time, that this family would ever come and say, hey guys, let's all live together. But guess what? After like about a year of emailing each other, my brother's family with him, they come all the way from New York, Long Island, New York, to Siberia, small little town of Novokuznetsk. And I remember we all said, my sister, myself, we didn't speak English, so there was an interpreter. The orphanage director, this is like a big like meeting room.
Wow.
And the first question that comes out of my then brother's mom, the first question that comes out of her mouth is like, do you guys all want to live together?
Wow. And what did
And
she
when
say?
when the interpreter translated it, I was in shock. I am 14. My sister is 16. Yeah, I think.
Normally, no one wants to adopt
No,
kids
it's
that,
unheard of
it's
for
unheard of.
teenagers to be adopted. It's very rare. And there were some stories, but typically they don't work out very well because, as a grown-up child, like you just already are so set in your, like a lot of kids
Yeah.
at the
You're
very
rigid
end
already.
of the adoption process,
Right.
like there's stories of them like pulling out of the process, like, oh, I can't do it, So
what did you say?
so I mean, I was in shock. My sister was like, America. She was so excited. My
Wow.
sister was so excited. And I remember just thinking to myself, wow, first of all, what an opportunity. But at the same time, I'm the smart kid. I'm like, I was immediately started thinking of like logic here. Like, I
Uh-huh.
don't speak the language.
Yeah.
I cannot like it would take me a while to even understand, like
You're very
say,
practical.
very
Yeah.
practical, like
Yeah.
and then in my head I'm like, I'm like, I kind of I had it good for the cards that I've been dealt.
Yeah.
I figured out my way, and I knew if I just had a good head on my shoulders and continued the path that I was going, I would do very, very well in Russia.
Right.
Like I just knew it.
Okay.
I knew I was gonna go to the best university because, the government did support the orphans quite a bit. They
Right.
allocated a lot of funding
Right.
to some of my friends from the orphanage, they eventually, once they graduated, they received like a free apartment.
Right.
Like you get like a living, like,
Yeah.
it's like millions of rubles essentially, just like, here you go. So I knew if I just did everything right, I was going to be a very successful person in Russia. And here I have this family, this lovely family of my brother who I just met for the second time. They're like, hey, do you want to go and live in America? And so It took me like a day or two, but of course I said yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
And you moved at 15, 16?
Yeah. Well, so because we were older, my sister and I, it took 2 years. The adoption process was very long, and it was just,
But I guess hope came back because you had something to look for.
Well,
right?
it was one of those things where it's like, because it takes so long, and now like I'm older, 2 years is nothing, right? You're like,
But when you're a child, it's forever.
it's forever.
It's forever.
And everyone in an orphanage were like, oh, you're so silly. You think this angel woman.
You're delusional. It's never going to happen.
Yeah. Like, she's going to come and save you and take you to the land of the free, you know? Like, kids were so mean and would like just make fun of me. And even the adults, even the teachers in the orphanage, they were like, you really think it's going to happen, you know?
Of course.
It's like 2 years is a very long time. So, but it happened. And I remember... Well, one thing that unfortunately, so by the time all the paperwork was done, my sister turned 18, which legally you cannot be adopted at 18. You're not.
Wow.
So she couldn't be adopted, although my mom, my mom that adopted me, she wanted to bring my sister maybe on the student visa, figure something out. But my sister was already, like, she graduated the orphanage. She was living on her own. She was enjoying her freedom. And at the time, she made the decision that she didn't want to take the chance. Yeah.
So you went on your own?
I went on my own. And I did take some English classes throughout the 2 years of waiting. It was interesting because my mom would send me kind of like this tutor money to pay like the English tutor. And, you know, out of 4 classes, I take like 3. And then I was the only kid in an orphanage who had like pocket money. I was like, yes, would go and buy like things you actually need.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I remember when there was a court day.
Yeah.
When you go to a court and the judge assesses the adoption situation, and they actually, you know, because I am, you know, a teenager, they give you a say. They're like, Anastasia, with all the facts presented, are you still willing to go through with this and, you know, be adopted? And I was like, yep, I was ready yesterday. Let's go. And yes, so everything was final. Adoption went through. I got, you know, we were on the plane. Everything felt so surreal. Honestly, it just like looking back, I'm like, is this like, how is this happening? And honestly, if I really am being if I'm looking at the facts, what happened was, you know, speaking of like the stuck resentment and anger and things that hold us back as humans in life.
Right.
I don't think, like, have I not forgiven my past? Have I not witnessed a miracle of healing? Have I not released resentment and anger? I don't know if this door, how things played out with the American family, I don't know if that would open up, or if it work out.
That is very possible that you created that timeline.
In the way I saw, you know, as a kid, you're just so much more aware. You're so much more in tune with what's happening. I remember just that moment of release. It was like giving you a key to a door, and now the possibilities are endless. Here you go. You just open this door, this heavy door full of memories and anger and resentment. And
by such a young age, you were able to restart. Like many people, I mean, and look at your story. You started the story with the fact that when you were born, the country restarted. And then at 13, you restarted. And it's like, you are very advanced. Like most people go through a whole lifetime without having even one reset in their life. Like they never level up. They never really process what has happened to them and let it go and then move on to the next phase. And you in such a young age went through all these things. And, bringing you to a situation in which you're a young woman and like the whole world is ahead of you and everything is behind you and you have this perspective that most people don't have. It's incredible.
Well, things get even more interesting because I was born after Soviet Union fell apart, monetary reset. I was adopted and brought into the United States 2008.
And then
financial crisis.
Bang! Look at the timing you have, girl.
The timing. I joke that I tend to enter countries during
financial crises. No wonder you got into Bitcoin.
Yes. So obviously, again, absolutely.
We all have something karmatic with money with us. I don't know if you've heard the story from Carla or from Natalie, or they came from communistic countries as well. I mean, their parents from Poland, from Romania. With me, my grandparents, my surname, Pfennigson. Pfennig is a coin in Germany. It's the penny of Germany back in the days. And it's the smallest coin. And Zon is son. So it's like the poor son. And so I have a connection to money somehow as well.
Ancestral.
Yeah, some kind of ancestral lineage. So it's just that I'm discovering that so many of the women in this space have some kind of karmatic connection to money. It's really interesting. So you come to the States and then great financial crisis in 2008. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, again, I had no idea. I had to figure out my life, this brand new life. I have to learn the language. It was quite difficult, honestly, because I was the smart kid. I knew how to navigate life in Russia.
And all of a sudden you're in this underdog position. I had the same when I moved to Australia at 21. And I spoke English, but not great. So I had to spend good 6 months in getting up to speed with the language. It was hard.
I didn't look back and wonder, have I made the right decision? The decision has been made. There's no turning back by any means. But I remember just for days on after coming back from high school, I would just cry in my room I'm never going to learn English.
It's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah. But I do, now that I'm a little bit older, I realize that because of the difficult childhood that I had, once I was adopted and a new life started, I wanted nothing to do with the old life.
Right.
I kind of completely shut down the childhood, call it, my inner child. But it was interesting. I didn't realize that it was also a way of protection and a way to move forward.
Right.
But yeah, I finally, I graduated high school, was great. My mom to this day, she's she has no idea how I did what I did.
Wow.
What really helped actually with English language is because in Russia, we take chemistry, physics, all these heavy duty courses very early on, 5th grade, 6th grade.
Wow.
Somehow some of the school credits got transferred. However, they evaluated me here in the States at the high school. They're well, she's done all this stuff. She really just needs algebra, English, and American history to pass this high school level whatever the
diploma
requirements. Yeah. So there was this school in Long Island where you went to, it was like a trade school, but they had a music program. And my mom knew I was, singing, dancing, doing all this stuff back in Russia. She's like, maybe you'll be okay in the music school. And I basically half of the day, I went to that school half the day, and I went to a regular high school half the day. And I was learning music theory, music history, and singing in English, and also other, it was some classical in Italian or whatever. But I think it really allowed me to learn the language.
Beautiful.
quickly, but also because you're literally singing it out, you're able to hear the pronunciation. And I was
Beautiful.
trying so hard not to sound like a typical Russian accent
Yeah.
person. Like I didn't want it.
Amazing.
So I was really like listening extra, and I would practice. I remember, and if certain words I couldn't really understand the difference for a long time, but once I got it, I'm like, yes,
Beautiful.
yeah. So.
And take us, since we're going towards the end of our hour, take us to what has brought you. You said you wanted to connect this with how we met and what you're doing today.
Yes.
It's like, how does this connect to us?
Time flies, right? So what happened was I went to a finance school. So first, after I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with my life, music was a big part of my teenagehood. So I actually wanted to pursue a music therapy program. But the school I ended up going to was like a state university school in New York, upstate New York. I didn't like the school, so I remember having to kind of figure out, okay, what do I want to do? I knew I wanted to make a comfortable living, and I wanted to have financial stability in life. So I remember just calling my mom, and I said, Mom, I'm going to move to New York City. I found this finance school. It was like a city Baruch college school. Actually, Frank Gorva taught there.
Really?
Not when I went there, but he was teaching there.
Okay.
Funny coincidence, small world. But my mom was like, okay, well, do you know how much rent is? She was like, you're gonna, I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna figure it out. So I worked 2 jobs in the summer, saved everything. I'm like, I'm gonna pay rent. I'm going to this finance school. And sure enough, Econ 101, you kind of start learning all the foundation of the financial system and all of the fear from the childhood, seeing my grandparents' Fiat lying around, money reset. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
This system is so broken. It is so corrupt, and it's literally is holding on by like band-aids at this point, like the way that I saw it. Then I was like, this is not sustainable. This is a house of cards that is going to fall, and it's going to fall bad. And I also remember
it's going to erupt just like your growth, right? At one point, it's going to release all that toxicity building up.
I don't know if they still have it. Bryant Park, there's a building on 42nd Street in New York City that they have the national debt clock on the building. It's not the one that they have on like the website.
Online, yeah.
It's a little bit more simple. It has the national debt amount and then your family's share underneath. First of all, think about it. Like, to me, I remember when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, something feels incredibly wrong about this. And then I looked deeper into the national debt, and I realized that based on this national debt, every child that's born in this country is instantly in debt. Last time I checked, $111,000. The minute you come out, the minute they cut the cord, you're indebted to this country because it says debt per citizen, right? Because they break it down. Debt per citizen.
Of course, because it's on you. That's what people don't understand. They think it's the national debt. It's someone else's. It's the country. No, you're a part of that country. If you're a citizen, you hold the burden. Okay.
So luckily, what happened around the time I was in school, I met my now husband, boyfriend at the time, Michael. Muzz, yes. And he was obsessed with Bitcoin at the time. I remember he would have like tone vase in the background on YouTube. Like these are early days, 2013, and I instantly understood the premise of what it is here to fix. However, I was still a bit too young to like just go all in, and also I wasn't making a lot of money, but also I was like in my early 20s trying to like graduate college, find the big girl job. I remember every time I tell Michael, I'm like, why didn't you orange pill me harder? He always kind of jokes. He says that I was crying. I wanted to pay taxes at the time because like I thought that like being a productive member of society
Means paying
you pay
taxes.
your own fair share. Like looking back, who I am today and the person that was crying wanted to pay taxes. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, he has a point. He could not have orange pilled me if I was.
You weren't mature enough to.
No, I
get
wasn't
it.
mature enough. I knew like the big picture. Like I kind of started making sense of the broken system. And of course, my childhood did help to kind of understand the severity
Yeah.
of what could happen.
Right.
But the beautiful thing of the US dollar being the world reserve currency is that you can constantly do this thing called quantitative easing. You can find all these very clever ways to continue to
Kick the can down the road.
Correct. Mitigate the further. But so it wasn't until COVID is when everything, and I know COVID was also a big time for you. Like I think for many people it was a time of awakening.
Absolutely.
And I remember I woke up one day that's when like the vaccines came out. They were starting to force vaccinate. They were printing out of the wazoo to literally pay people to sit at home.
Yeah.
I had a small business at a time. I was
Yep.
feeding my neighborhood a cafe. I couldn't find employees because people were making more money sitting at home collecting unemployment check
Instead of coming to work.
Yeah. So I remember just sirens in my head going off thinking, oh my God, Bitcoiners were right. They're printing so much money. Hyperinflation is going to follow. Obviously, that's what happens. And then the forced vaccination part was, okay, so this is like beyond.
You mean the mandates and the coercion?
The mandates,
and all.
This is beyond just the money, like something else. The overreach,
dark,
power,
something
like
dark,
something
yeah.
dark, something evil is going on.
Yeah.
And it was like this wake up moment where before I knew things were wrong, but I was like, ignorance is bliss.
Right.
To the light.
I was
do
the same.
your best.
Yeah.
And then here it's like so in your
face. You can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah. You can't ignore it.
Same.
And that started I remember just everything I made money-wise. I'm like, we're buying, what are we doing with our lives? Let's sell everything. Let's buy Bitcoin. I even told my husband, I became so crazy, obsessed. And, that kind of started my Bitcoin journey, like really starting going to conferences. But at some point I looked at my husband and I said, should we sell my diamond ring?
Beautiful.
And buy some Bitcoin? And he just kind of left and he's like, I like the way you think, but keep the ring. Keep the ring.
Beautiful.
I think, kind of to bring it all back, because I shared a little bit about, the healing journey. I think ultimately what Bitcoin represents, in the way that I see it and through my life journey that I see it, is COVID started something where this energy split in the world, like not energy split, but as we're seeing it very profoundly right now, it as if there's two parallel worlds happening. On the political level, you have the left, the right. Everything is a little upside down. The medical system that's supposed to heal you actually hurts you. Like everything just feels so broken and so out of whack. And it is because the underlying thing that's holding it all together is this terribly broken money.
Yeah.
They say, money is the soil of economy, but if you have rotten soil, nothing will grow.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I know we only have a few minutes, but as I get a little bit older and as I'm witnessing, like I'm also understanding this shift in society, shift in just people kind of starting questioning life. I really think what's going on is we're essentially moving to this. There are two parallel worlds that are emerging. And one is centralized dystopian, smart city, take all the boosters, like do everything the government says. And the other parallel world that is happening where Bitcoin is thriving, where a lot of people that even maybe don't even know about Bitcoin just yet, but they're waking up in other different ways. They're finding ways to be sovereign. They're finding to be
more decentralized.
Yes, decentralized, right? So no single government. And of course, we still have a long way to go. But what Bitcoin, for me, what Bitcoin allows is complete opt-out from the matrix.
From that sick system.
The sick, dirty, awful system. And the thing is like how I saw Bitcoin essentially, and why I know it's the only true, honest money that exists today. It's actually probably the most important thing, the most important innovation. I think actually the internet was just to like, it was good, you know, it was made life great, you know, you can communicate with people across the world, like you can do all this trade, but I think the internet was like a setup for Bitcoin to emerge. Yeah, because essentially the most broken part of our lives is money. And a lot of people don't know, like they feel something is wrong, but they just don't know. It's the money that they're using on a daily basis. And I really want to go into this whole idea of energy a little bit, because you know, Tesla, he's like famous now, right? He has this quote, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yes, Nikola Tesla.
He was always living like beyond his years when he was understanding how the universe works. And Bitcoin, essentially, if everything is energy, if everything is vibration, you have fiat government money that is rooted in energy, vibration, frequency of destruction, theft, death, wars are financed by it. It is this heavy, awful, and plus also it is stealing exploitation, stealing from future generations. And then you have this honest money that no one controls. You can't print more of it. It cannot be stolen from you. If you know how to properly store your Bitcoin, no one can take it away from you. It's the only truly unconfiscatable asset you can have in life, you know? So I think ultimately what's happening is like, if humanity is to evolve, if we are, and that's, I think the whole point of life is evolution. Like we've always had amazing technology, like we don't live the same way humanity lived 100 years ago, 100, 200, 500 years ago. We've always had evolution, but the money hasn't evolved with technology until now. And if we are to evolve, we must choose the path of money that is rooted in honesty, that is rooted in pure energy,
and productive and pure.
Yeah. You cannot, it's almost like the fiat system is holding humanity back.
Absolutely.
It's holding us back in so many ways, because you go out, you have your gift, you have your time, you give up your time to earn something that is carrying this energy, like very heavy energy of essentially like theft and death.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And then we bring it into our life and we're like, something feels wrong. I don't know what's going on. Like,
gee, I wonder.
In your pocket, you have money that is like
based on theft and debt.
Yeah.
Theft and destruction. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. This is a beautiful way of putting it.
Yeah.
I love that. And it resonates with me so much, because once people move to the Bitcoin standard, and some of us are already living our lives on the Bitcoin standard, even though nation states haven't adopted it fully, we can still do it in our own lives. And I think that once you see Bitcoiners living that way, you see how liberated they are.
Yeah.
And the type of frequency change and the energy that they are carrying in their lives is so different than before.
Yeah.
We have to wrap up. This was incredible. Anna, you're so courageous and so generous in the way you share yourself. I hope this was okay for you, right?
Yeah.
It was?
I do wish that we, maybe talked a little bit more about Bitcoin, because I was like,
there's more.
And like,
I know.
So I'm like, but ultimately,
we'll do it again.
Yeah,
we'll definitely do it again. And I think you should write a book. I truly do. I think you bring the worlds of spirituality and money and childhood and education so well together. It will be fascinating to read your book.
Oh my gosh. That was always the goal. I always joke, is like, okay, one Bitcoin is $1 million.
I think that would be a wonderful book from you. Is there anything you want to say just to wrap this up, and where should people follow you? We said Nasty Huddle, but anything you want to say?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It definitely, if you asked me to do this interview a few years ago, I probably wouldn't want to share my story. I think it's quite an intense.
Right.
There's so many moving parts, and it only like it's like peeling an onion. And
yes.
It's like, and this, and then this, and then the father dies. It's like, what? What else is there? It's like, and people sometimes say like Russians have the most dramatic lives, and sure, I confirm that we do.
Yes.
But I think, my desire, my intention, I think for this podcast, for this interview with you, is I hope that whoever hears this story, not only does it inspire them in the sense of, no matter what life throws at you, there's opportunities, there's always a way to find to make sense of it, but also to find a way out in a weird way. But ultimately, and that's why I wish we talked a little bit more about Bitcoin, because I think once I fully understood, once I went down the rabbit hole and it finally clicked, it gave me this sense of freedom that I've never felt before. It was like the light at the end of the tunnel. It was one of those things where I didn't even know if I wanted to have a family, because I didn't want to bring kids into this broken world. And suddenly I'm out here like, yes, let's all get married. Let's have 10 babies. There is a light at we're not,
we're not doomed. Absolutely. Yes. I'm with you. Yeah.
And that feeling, kind of, as now that I shared my story, that feeling of lightness and joy that I experienced as a 13-year-old, where suddenly there was an awakening, okay, life is worth living.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is that for me as an adult, and I think for many people, is it gives you this immense, huge, amazing hope that cannot be compared to anything else, because it just makes things like, okay, we're gonna make it. Everything is not broken. This world has a chance.
Yeah.
We have a chance.
Yes.
And I think that was the most beautiful feeling that the Bitcoin and this community had offered me. Have I not become so obsessed with it and started going to conferences, I would have never met you. I never worked in this space. And, and now I just do social media like a crazy person. I always kind of joke that I shed post for a living, but so that's kind of my final thought is, if you're still wondering what is this thing Bitcoin, if a Russian orphan with a crazy life story is able to
find hope, right,
in it,
right,
then maybe it's worth exploring and learning about.
I love this. I love your message. It's so beautiful. And it's so hopeful and so inspirational.
Yes.
I love you, dear. Thank you so much for doing this with me. This was fantastic.
Thank you for having
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being with us. Please take a minute to give this episode a like, a comment, and subscribe or follow. And please share it with your friends so they can also get value and choose to take some positive action in their lives. Till next time.